Hi, I'm Ted Klauser, host of the podcast Align It, and I'm here today with Kathy Bennett. Kathy is a prominent figure in the Dallas tech community and an active member of the Society for Information Management, or SIM, organization. With a strong background in IT leadership, Kathy has been instrumental in driving technological innovation and fostering collaboration among industry professionals. Originally from Cincinnati, Kathy has been in Dallas for over 20 years, and she has dedicated her career to enhancing the local tech landscape. Her involvement with SIM has allowed her to connect with top IT executives, share knowledge, and support the development of future tech leaders. Kathy's passion for technology and her commitment to community engagement make her a respected and influential voice in the industry. When she's not leading the charge in IT, Kathy enjoys exploring the vibrant culture of Dallas, participating in community events, and mentoring young professionals. Her multifaceted interests and dedication to excellence make her a standout leader in the tech world. Well, Kathy, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Well, let's start out right out of the gate. You have a tremendous background with a lot of experience. And what we want to focus on is aligning technology with different aspects of business.
Certainly.
So what's one way that you've particularly seen a healthy alignment from a technology perspective?
I would say a healthy alignment is the Dallas industry, honestly, is very tight-knit, and they are a great community that helps each other. And, organizations like SIM and other organizations in Dallas are very involved with helping the next leaders and growing the next leaders. And it's just a good, tight-knit community.
What do you see as the value in that community? Like, talk a little bit about relationships and how they really influence you.
Sure. So the value is that the relationships are always helping each other. If someone's looking for a job, if someone has a challenge with their career or getting to the next level, there's mentorship programs, and the community is just really good about helping each other and being very involved here in Dallas.
Yeah. Well, what brought you to Dallas from Cincinnati?
So my husband actually was transferred here with a company called Siemens, which everyone's heard of Siemens.
Course.
And so 20 years ago, we moved here from Cincinnati, Ohio. And I've been in sales for almost all of my life, but as soon as my kids got big enough where I could go back to work, I got back into sales, started out actually as a recruiter, an IT recruiter, and then transitioned into sales. So yeah, I've been doing IT for about 12 years now.
Okay. So what particularly made you want to make the shift from sales to IT?
I think I enjoy being out and about,
Okay.
and as opposed to being in an office, and like having days different. And so it was a perfect fit for me, and building relationships is really important. Mm-hmm. And the technology industry is heavy in relationships, as you know.
Yes.
And so it was a really good fit for me.
So what is a typical, let's just think back to 2024. What's a typical day look like for you in a technology space?
Sure. Typical day, get up early, go work out, have some coffee, of course, get home, start making some calls, meetings, maybe a lunch meeting, and then follow-up meetings, and then possibly an event in the evening. So I really pride myself in being out and about in the community, and I think that the best thing to do is be in person. Mm-hmm. A lot of times people will say that, they don't want to go to different events, or that they don't see that there's very much value. But I will tell you, every time that I say to myself, I really don't want to go to this tonight,
Right.
I get there and I'm like, okay, I'm so glad I went. And I always find meeting somebody or some value from that event.
So what's an advice you would give to push that person who's saying, I really don't want to get out, I don't want to deal with Dallas traffic? How do you push them?
I would say you just have to show up. I mean, especially there's a lot of people that are looking for jobs right now. I get people reaching out to me all the time, and you have to show up. Maybe take a break in the middle of the day if you know you're going to be going to something in the evening, and maybe have a buddy that's going to go with you. I've had friends that will go with me and tag along. So that would probably be a good way to have an accountability partner.
Yeah, that's good, accountability partner.
Yeah.
Well, how about COVID? Let's talk about just the difference in, obviously there was a season where going out and about wasn't as easy. So have you seen a difference over these past 5 years? Do you think it's harder now for having these in-person events? Just kind of tell me what your experience is with that.
Sure. I mean, when COVID, the great thing was you could get around on the roads if you would go out.
True.
Yes. I mean, it was very weird. I think people are definitely out now. There's a lot of people that are working remote, but events are still very heavily attended. I'm very involved with SIM here, and I have been for, I think, the past 5 years. And they have a lot of different events. They have local events, which I'm on the chair for the Engage chapter. So they have an Engage chapter in Collin County and in the mid-cities and in different parts of Dallas. So it makes it a little bit more convenient for people to go to attend events. And then they also have monthly meetings. And that has had a big attendance because it's easier for people as opposed to, like, if you live in McKinney, you might not want to go to something that's in Grapevine.
Right.
So, we have had a good attendance. And the one thing that I love about SIM is the majority of the money that they make goes back to the community. They're very involved with Empower, which is helping veterans and other people in the community get into IT.
Let's stay on SIM for a little bit.
Sure.
What does an event look like? So you get together. Are there any sort of focus on topics, or is it just hanging out? And if it is the event that's hanging out, are there separate times that maybe you have some focus on IT related items? Just tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So SIM they can bring in, like, for example, they brought in an AI expert, and he talked to everyone about, what's going on with AI and the disruption. And, that was really good. I think that a lot of people are very much like a deer in the headlights with AI, and they're like, what do I do with this? What are the right tools to go with? So one of the meetings was about AI. Another event is a golf outing. Okay. And next month's event is all of the, what are they called? They're called the fellows, and it's the senior SIM leaders, and they are giving advice to everyone on, their path and how they were successful and just challenges that people have. So every month is different. And so that makes it unique as well.
Well, so what did you learn about AI in that talk? What was the takeaway? Yeah,
the takeaway was that it was really surprising how many companies really are not using it very much. And everyone was a little bit hesitant to what is the right approach and what are the right tools for my business. So I think everyone is still a little bit timid with it.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that?
I do, and I think that's a perfect segue as we talk about alignment. AI is here to stay. Right.
For sure.
The adoption rate, we need to have a plan, we need to have a strategy. So in those discussions, and I'll share a little bit about my position, but I'd love to hear, obviously there was hesitation, but what was the general consensus of how do we eat this elephant per se, right? One bite at a time. So where do you start?
Right, exactly. Everyone was like, how do we know to pick the right tools?
Yes.
How do we avoid going with every shiny new object,
so true,
and then finding that we've bought 5 things that really were not good for our industry. So that was the big takeaway. Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I've seen is I was doing some sessions on Microsoft Copilot.
Okay.
And what's appealing about Microsoft for all those listening is anybody in the Microsoft tenant already has the trust in Microsoft. You already have the security,
right,
for the most part in place. You can add in Copilot and start to get some powerful tools within your data as a way to dabble, right? Because to me, the key is having a strategy. We've got to at least say, okay, at the board level, every organization needs to think about AI. What is our answer? It's interesting if you think about, what if you were to hire somebody and you were to say, at our organization, we don't use calculators here. How many people would you hire? Not many.
No, hardly.
Or if you say, we don't Google, we send our people to the library to get an encyclopedia.
Good luck. Right.
AI will be that way in 2 to 5 years.
Right.
Right? If you say we don't allow AI, people may not work for you.
Absolutely.
And not you, just in general, anybody that's a listener.
Right,
So
right.
what are your thoughts on that?
I think everyone is trying to stay ahead of the curve, or at least align with the curve. No one is wanting to be left behind, and you can really see that with retail, especially.
Oh, yeah.
What is going to be the next store that is going to go under?
Right.
And how do you stay afloat? And you can see different stores that are doing that very well, and they're using AI, and they're using a lot of different tools. For example, I think Nordstrom's is doing a great job. TJ Maxx is doing a great job, but they're not really using a whole lot of, AI, but they just have a really good brand.
Yes.
So it's really interesting.
It is.
So
I think you have a unique perspective because of your background in sales and being in technology. So what is something that you think you could advise a salesperson that maybe doesn't love technology, that maybe doesn't see the value in the technology side? What's a piece of advice you could say to better align them in their role with technology?
Well, technology is everywhere. And I think that if you're a salesperson, you're going to bump into technology somewhere. And so you definitely should have some of that in your toolkit to be able to present to different customers, because you're going to bump into it. And especially the deeper we get into AI and different technologies, the more that's going to be.
Yeah, so very true. Well, what's your favorite piece of technology?
Oh, my favorite is probably ChatGPT.
Hey,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So definitely.
I've talked to people about the concept of not Googling, but prompting, right? So trying to get away from the search feature, although we all need Google Maps, right? But trying to say, let me actually prompt and become better. It seems like that would be a benefit as people expand of how good of a prompter are you, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would say Google Maps is definitely another technology that I really...
You like that? Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
For
We
sure.
use that.
Or Waze, yes.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, tell me a little bit about what you had some volunteer things, or you like to help mentor. Just talk about when you're not working. What are some things that maybe you like to engage in?
Sure. So I'm also very involved with UTD Rise, which is Retail Innovation Strategy and Excellence. Okay. And that's helping students, obviously, down at UTD. And it's also, Dallas is a hub for retail. And it's if a business can make it in Dallas, they can really make it anywhere in the country. And so all of the retail executives are, very interested in learning more about UTD Rise. And I like to help the students. And they're also going to have their first retail conference in September.
All right.
So stay tuned on that. Yes.
Okay. And what would that look like?
I would say that is going to be every retail executive here in Dallas,
wow,
along with the students. And there's going to be other executives coming in from around the country. So it should be pretty cool. I'll have to let you know about that for
that's
sure.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, I think that Dallas is absolutely an incredible place to be, even with the challenges we've had with the weather, right?
Yes.
Which is very unusual for Dallas.
Right.
But I know in Cincinnati you're a little bit more used to that.
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
So, where do you see AI really helping a business in the next year or two?
I think with maybe not needing as many employees, with assisting or helping the employees that you have be more productive, and maybe not having to work as many hours, keeping it to 40 hours, for example, just time management and helping with email and writing different proposals. And AI is already all over that as far as, if you want to put together a proposal, you can definitely use tools to assist with that. I mean, it's still going to be your brain, and you're still going to be putting in the work, but you can definitely use AI for assistance.
Yeah, it's interesting. Some people have said they have concerns about creativity potentially being lost. But I think you can just use it to help spark some creativity,
yeah,
right?
Absolutely. I think it'll just enhance that, honestly.
So one of the things I think is very valuable for people listening is the power of networking.
I agree.
Right? So let's talk a little bit about your experience. You came in 20 years ago from Cincinnati and I assume had no network or a small network. And you've seen the power of building one. So I'd love for you to just share some tips and some experiences.
Sure. So I was taught the John Humphrey way, and I have to give him a plug because, I was taught that if you meet people and you network and you connect and you give back, you can never outgive your network, that it will pay off for you big time. And the last several jobs that I have found have been through my network. And, with you coming to Dallas, it's so valuable to get introduced to different people like John, and you then build from that, because you never know when somebody in your network might, be able to help you out, or you might be able to help them out. And there's so much power in it.
Right.
And my husband is like, I can't believe that you found a job so quick. And I said, it's completely from your network. And that's the biggest thing that I talk to students about too, is that you really need to build that up, and it'll pay off for you throughout your career. My kids used to make fun of me because they would hear me say polite, persistent pest.
I've never heard that. That's great.
But, now my son is he's 23 and he's like, Mom, you were so right. That really works. And it does. Mm-hmm. You just have to be polite and realize when you're being annoying and back off.
Absolutely.
So,
how do you do that? What's your tip for knowing when you cross that threshold?
I think, maybe you can tell by someone's body language, for one thing. And if you're not in person, if you don't get a response back, I usually don't reach out more than once a week, because I think that more than that is annoying. Yeah. And I've heard that from different CIOs. Mm-hmm. And so those are kind of, strategies. Also, when I send out an email, I almost always start it off with, I hope you're doing well, or I hope your week is going well, because everybody's struggling with something. And just trying to set that tone in a good way when you start that conversation, I think ends up giving you a good response back a lot of times. And if I call somebody on the phone and I catch them, I will always say, I know I'm catching you off guard. Do you have a few minutes? Otherwise, they might be offended and they might hang up on you or whatnot. Yeah. But usually people are very polite if you're polite to start.
No doubt. Yeah. Well, when you're teaching at class and teaching the younger generation, do you think they're getting that? They understand that? I mean, obviously it's a different genre and a different generation.
Right.
Think they understand the value of the networking and the connections?
They do once they start to do it. Okay. And, I'm actually going to start a program with students where, I have students come once a week to a call and coach them on networking and building up their network.
Oh, wonderful.
And I think that once they see the value of it, once they get their first job, or, they meet people like the CIO of Amazon or someone, then they see the power of that. Yeah. So, but a lot of people it always surprises me how many people are really afraid to reach out. And one of my favorite books is, it's called Taming the Gremlin. And I say you should name your gremlin, because we all have that voice that says,
good advice.
Oh, I'm not, I don't think I should reach out because I don't know what to say, or they might, and it's you gotta not listen to that voice.
So whatever the fear is what the gremlin essentially would be, I assume, is the preface?
The gremlin is that little voice in your head that says, I shouldn't do that. They're going to shut me down.
Okay.
So, yeah, name that gremlin.
So when you read that book, did you identify your gremlin?
I did.
And you're seeing success and progress?
Absolutely, yeah. The more you quiet that voice, the easier it is to just not have fear, because that voice is all fear.
Yes.
So.
What do you think about LinkedIn?
I love LinkedIn.
Yeah?
Yes, I am on LinkedIn for several hours a day.
Okay.
Yes.
And you believe it brings value and
tremendous value. Okay. And I think that I think one thing that we learned with COVID is that you really need to be present on LinkedIn and share knowledge for your network and, just be out there, especially when we weren't able to get out there.
Yeah, definitely. Are there any other social media platforms you think that are maybe not as beneficial or beneficial?
Yeah. No, I think LinkedIn, honestly, is the biggest one. I mean, Twitter a little bit, but not so much. I think anyone that is really networking well is on LinkedIn.
It sounds like as you're talking to the next generation, you're talking about the power of network. What do you tell them about the prospects of the future with regards to sales and how AI impacts? Just kind of like, what's your advice for that next generation that's coming up?
Yeah, I think, any classes or any training that they can take, there's so many different courses on LinkedIn that are free.
Yeah.
And so, in your downtime, you can always do things like that. I think just meeting someone for coffee and learning their story and how they got started and building up your network is just a good, starting point for anyone.
So I hear mixed messages, depending on whom you ask, on taking that coffee meeting that you're talking about, right? So do you do it 100% of the time? Do you kind of go with feel? Like, how do you determine if somebody reaches out and says, I'd like to have coffee? What's your initial response to that?
It depends on who it is, to be honest. If it's a salesperson, I think, being a salesperson myself, I think a lot of people do get annoyed on LinkedIn if you come right out of the gate and try to start selling. Right. So I think you need to build up that relationship first and maybe connect with someone and get to know a little bit more about what they're doing and what are their core values. And then maybe reach out and have coffee. And yes, I will. Yes.
Yeah.
And if I don't have the time for coffee, then I would definitely do a call.
Okay. So in our space, as we continue to lean into technology, I know it can be frustrating. So what's something that you have dealt with that you think is just really a frustrating side of technology?
Sure. Finding the right talent. I think everyone, has challenges with that. And I had a client that really wanted a replacement for a developer. And he wanted a nearshore developer. And, we weren't able to find the right fit. And this is the power of your network again. So I had heard of this company. And so I looked at them looked at their website, and I was like, oh, I know a lot of the companies that they're working with. So I know that they are, they've got a good reputation. And so I reached out to them, and I was able to bring them in as a partner. And we were able to fill that role with a really strong developer that is still at that company today and doing very well.
That's excellent.
Yeah. So, I think you can look at your network as a tool for finding solutions to problems. And, again, there's so much good about your network. So.
Absolutely. Well, I love that. Well, we're nearing the end of the show, and I want to talk a little bit about golf.
Oh, okay.
Because you and I had the chance to talk a little bit before the show, and actually on your LinkedIn profile, you have an aspiration to be on the tour that I saw. So just tell me a little bit about your golf love and passion for it.
Yeah. Well, I was very fortunate that I started playing when I was little.
Okay.
And I didn't like it at first, but I was able to go and get free lunch afterwards and go swimming all day. And so I started playing 3 holes. And then, once I had my first good shot, I was hooked. And so I've been playing for most of my life. And I'll tell you, it is the best tool to be able to get out and network with people. And there's no better way to really get to know somebody than play 18 holes of golf with them. And, you become friends, and you really learn a lot.
4 hours, right?
Yeah, you learn somebody's temperament, their patience level, yeah, so.
That is so true. Well, what's a tip if you were going to go be out in the golf course and you wanted to learn how best to observe somebody? What's kind of a tip of something to watch for?
bring an exploding golf ball.
Oh,
Because if you bring that and you use that, you will be able to see, you'll learn a lot.
Okay.
And it breaks the ice, too.
I'm trying to think of what I'd do if I hit a ball and it exploded.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously I'd laugh, but
We actually did a sim event where we had an exploding
that's
golf ball
such a great
contest.
idea. Wait, okay, tell me, what's the contest?
So the contest would be like, 3 people line up and one of the balls is exploding and the other 2 are not. And whoever hits the exploding ball gets to win a prize.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was very fun.
Well, there you go. You got an exploding ball contest. You heard it here. Well, Kathy, I'm so thankful that you took the time to be here. If you just want to just say, I mean, you're on LinkedIn, obviously, but if there's anything else you want to share, we'll take a moment, just tell those listening.
Well, look forward to meeting everyone at different events. And if I can help in any way, reach out to me and I will definitely try to put you in touch with the right people.
Excellent. And she is on LinkedIn, Kathy Bennett. And if there's ever anything I can do, we are your technology coach. We focus on managed and co-managed IT services, pcatechsolutions.com.